you because I would be doing. There we go. I'm not going to present you, Gil, because I would be doing you a huge disservice. And I always say that, but I really mean it with you. So tell us who you are. Most of the people here are going to be partners. In our downline, my downline, your downline, the vast majority here. So happy to have you. Yeah, go for it, man. The mic is yours. The stage is yours.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of explain where I'm coming from because I'm a guy who's been in the trenches, who's bled, who's cried, who, to be honest with you, I wasn't a born salesperson. I remember when I was, given leads in the beginning, I used to hang up on myself. Like I realized how bad I was. I'd be like, and I would be like, oh, probably don't want to buy anything. And I would literally hang up and I'd be like, dude, I'm gonna be broke forever. And I started broke, so being broke wasn't that big of a deal because it really couldn't get much broker. But like I needed to figure this stuff out. Like, and I'm very grateful that some people shared some stuff with me, and I did something that I'm going to tell you I learned from my father, and I didn't love my father in the beginning. I kind of like had a hate love relationship with my father, but he taught me this one thing. And this one thing, he has no idea, has made me millions and millions of dollars. And here's what it is. My dad was an alcoholic. He was abusive. I love my dad. I played dominoes with my dad every weekend. There's not a Sunday, if it's possible, that we don't play dominoes, and I play to win, right? Um, and he was drinking really bad. And I remember one day it came out and like he wanted to fight me, and I was like, I'm gonna fight back. And he stopped and he went in the kitchen and he threw out all his drinks and stuff like that. He goes, I'm done. And I saw him make a decision I hope you guys make today to change his entire life. Like literally, he said, you know what? I'm never going to pick up a drink again. And he didn't. And I realized that we are not who we've been. We don't have to settle for a pattern that we've been part of. We don't have to settle for our experiences that have kind of shaped us. We can actually create a whole new shape and a whole new experience. So I come from you from that perspective to kind of hope that I can kind of explain to you that you can make a decision today that literally can change your life forever. And it's just that. It's just something where you just say, I'm not going to be that guy anymore. I know what the results that guy got, but I want to now do something different. And I'm going to model the behaviors that I see other winners do. And I'm modeling others. In fact, this Friday, I'm going to go see one of my mentors and hang out with him for a couple of days because we should always be seeking something more. In fact, I was hanging out with you about 58 days ago. You probably didn't see me. I was in the back of the room. You guys were all there. We were all chanting at the same time. Like 10, 9. You looked around, you didn't see me. 8, 7, maybe you were kissing your loved ones and you're thinking, I'm gonna make this year great. This is gonna be my year. 6, 5. You start thinking to yourself, who the fuck am I kidding? I'm coming this year with the same problems like I came in the year before and I didn't accomplish what I did. 4, 3, because time's relentless. It doesn't even give you a chance to think. 2, no. I'm gonna do it this year. I'm going to make shit happen. I'm going to step up. I'm going to show up. I'm going to make things happen. 0. And then there's this flush of emotion where you kind of feel like this joy and dopamine of feeling like it can happen. And then we get into our behaviors and our beliefs and our patterns. And you know what happened. It's been 60 days that you've been doing what you said you were going to do, or you're 60 days of you not doing what you're saying what you do. So I'm hoping that today we kill somebody. We kill that demon that's been holding us back from doing the things we already know how to do. We already know how to be great. I don't got to show you this, but I'm going to show you anyway, because I think I was a knucklehead and I had to get punched in the face a few times to learn what I want to share with you guys today. Listen, I'll tell you, almost every single week there's something fancy to learn, right? There's some AI program, there's an open house special, there's download this book, right? I sell you nothing. I don't even have a credit card machine, right? I don't know how to sell like anything but houses, right? So what I give you guys today is what's worked for me, what works for my team. I run a mega icon team. We pride ourselves on just doing the hustle, right? Nothing fancy, just doing the hustle. And it doesn't really matter whether you're a door knocker, if you're a caller, if you are a video person, social media influencer, whatever. As long as you're doing one thing consistently and you do it long enough, and let's talk about what long enough means, right? it usually takes 3 to 5 years to get to that expert level where shit just things just the world just comes to you and beckons to you, right? And it takes 10 years to get to a spot where you can retire and rewire, right? Of just hustling and doing the right things and investing in yourself, investing in your business. But there are a few things that work even more than others, right? Because a great video without a call to action, without a couple of questions that lead the consumer to connect and cultivate and close by itself is not enough. Door knocking, that's great, but you better have a script. If you're picking up the phone, you better know what to say. So I want to make this super simple. I truly, truly believe every single person you meet is a lead. There is no such thing as a person, provided they're over 18 years old and provided they're alive, is not a buyer or a seller. Even the person on their deathbed is probably a buyer or a seller. The reality is every single person you meet is a buyer or a seller. If you are renting right now, you're a buyer. It's just that simple. We don't need to overcomplicate this. If you own a home, even you're a seller. And now I know some people, well, I want to buy something. You're a seller. Super simple. If you own a home, you're a seller. If you don't own a home, you're a buyer. And if you want to write this down now, because I'm going to be building fundamentals from these pieces, just write that down. If I know somebody's a renter, they're a buyer, right? If I know that they're a homeowner, they are a seller. And I have $2 million questions I want you to start putting into your vernacular and asking people every single day. And I'm telling you, this is the 2 questions I use on my team, myself personally, that I've put more money in my pocket than any other question ever. And the goal of these 2 questions is to give you an opportunity to be human. It really is. It's in fact, that is your absolute goal, is to be a servant leader and be more human more often. When you start living in that world, business just comes to you, right? So when I meet somebody in a home with a homeowner, I'm genuinely curious about them. And you guys may or may not have heard me. I don't have a tattoo on my body, but if I ever had a tattoo, it would say, curious people make more money. Because I truly, truly believe that those of you guys who are willing to ask people questions, and we're in a world where we avoid people. Like, how many of you guys have a Ring doorbell? Raise your hand. Do you run to the door or do you look on your phone to see who's at the door? You know, when I grew up, and I grew up in a Puerto Rican household, like when the doorbell rang, we started looking around to see if the house was clean because somebody was walking in our home. Like my abuelita had a little bread or a cake or a cookie or something she was about to offer somebody something. Coffee was going to be brewing, right? We were excited. Somebody coming at our front door. It didn't matter if they were the UPS guy or whatever. We were going to greet them with love and respect and appreciation. And now we avoid it. I'm like, oh, I don't really just go ahead and leave it at the door. It's okay. Thank you. Neighbors going down the street, they park inside their garage so they don't even have to make eye contact. We pick up our kids outside the classroom, outside of the curb, so we don't have to actually talk to anybody. We live in a world where we need to socialize. We need to socialize to make money, but we found ways to stop socializing. Hint, social media, right? So what my goal for you guys is to be more human more often and for you guys to ask more questions. And you're going to hear that throughout what I'm about to say. Can you get to a world where you start interacting with people on a human level and ask them questions that will actually help them funnel them into your business, right? So as I meet somebody who owns a home, I'm genuinely curious about what made them want to buy that home. Why do they even love that home, right? So here's my $1 million question that I usually get to inside of a conversation, and sometimes I just start with it. Does anybody here own a home? Can I just use somebody as a role play real fast? Eli, just curious.
Darn it. Go for it.
I'm just curious. For the right price, would you consider selling your home?
Absolutely.
And here's the deal. I kind of hoped he said no, to be honest with you.
No, because of schools. Can't do it.
Because the reality is, I don't care what he says. I've had people say to me, dude, for the right price, you can take the dog. For the right price, and I've had twice people tell me, for the right price, you can take all the furniture, right? For the right price, I'm getting the fuck out of here. I've been wanting to leave this house forever. I can't stand my wife. I can't stand my husband. For the right price? You kidding me? Then I usually ask them, well, just out of curiosity, what's a fair price for your home? And they'll say, oh, fair price would be like $530. Okay, great. So if I got you $540, where would you go? and it's just a hypothetical. It's a, if I move my wand out there and I asked them and I just had a conversation, and I've heard people talk about this conversation as like the beer talk, right? You're sitting at a party and you're having a beer, you're having a wine, you're having a drink. Maybe you're sitting there, get one of those fancy charcuterie boards, and you're just having fun, and you're meeting somebody new, and you're like, hey, how's it going? Hey, what part of town do you live in? Do you love it? Do you own a house over there? I'm just curious. I got a lot of buyers who are looking to buy in Houston. Just curious, for the right price, would you consider selling your home? That question, and if you think about this right now, there are people that are in your neighborhood that own your home. There are people that go to your church that own a home. There's people that go to your kids' school that own a home, right? If you just start asking that question, you're going to get an answer. Now let's play out these answers, right? No, Gil, my kids are in school. Little Jimmy's actually doing really good right now, so we're probably not going to move until he's 18. He's 14 right now. Well, guess what? I need business 4 years from now. So I'm going to put that person in my CRM and I'm going to start some conversations and I'm just going to play with it. Oh, okay, totally cool. 4 years from now, if you could live anywhere in the state of Texas, where would you want to live? You're going to live anywhere in Central Florida. Where would you want to live? I'm just going to play the idea out, right? Oh man, it's awesome. Just curious, what do you like better, palm trees or oak trees? What do you like better? Stop asking people questions like how many bedrooms, how many square feet that they want. Those are ridiculous questions that we do not have in a beer talk or a wine conversation or a charcuterie board conversation. Oh, why is that? Why do you want to live over in Austin? Why do you want to live over? Oh, that's awesome. Schools, blah, 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 whatever. Like, it doesn't matter what they say. Now, if they say, hey, listen, we have actually been looking for a while, blah, blah, that's different. I'll take some action on there. But then I'm just going to ask questions. Questions like this. Well, we're looking to go in 4 years from about 4 years now. We don't want to change schools right now. Oh, that's awesome. Hey, just curious, the house that you live in, do you love it? No, we're always struggling because the kitchen's too small. And, we probably would have bought a different house. I was like, just out of curiosity, if you could find a house in the same school district and you didn't have to suffer and you could get the big kitchen you want and be in the same payment range, and I can maximize your equity, would you make the move? Right? And this is a classic technique. I mean, I learned this technique from my daughter Bella, who's actually the best negotiator I met early on. When she was a kid, I was at this local key food store, and I give her this speech. Hey, baby, we're gonna go in a store. We're not buying any candy, right? Because the candy's right there by the thing. She's like, yep, no problem, Poppy. We're not buying any candy. Give the candy. I'll hear this little sound. It's like this. And I'm stopped because I know I had the conversation. I turned around, she has a Kit Kat in her hand. I'm like, baby, put the candy down. I said, no, Poppy, I don't know if you know this. This is my favorite candy. And I'm looking around for witnesses, and I'm thinking to myself, I really don't give a shit if this is your favorite candy or not. I already told her we're not having candy. And then I can take the candy from her, I put it back, and I start putting my stuff on the counter. I hear this. And I look over and I see the Kit Kat sliding by on the conveyor belt, and I'm going to jail because I'm about to lose it. And she looks at me and she says, if you'll buy me this candy, and I was in a rush to get home, I wanted to watch the game. If you'll buy me this candy, I'll put away all the groceries so you can watch the game. And I realized I got taken. I got taken by at that time an 8-year-old. And she used this technique, which I want you to write this down, because this technique works with just about everybody. It works on wives, it works on kids, and it works for sellers, and it works on buyers. If I can do X, if I can do X, will you do Y? And if somebody can be helpful and put that in the chat so for everybody else, that would be very, very helpful. If I buy you, if you'll buy me this Kit Kat, I will put away all these groceries. If you can find me this perfect home in the Houston area with the nice kitchen, and it's in the same payment range that I'm in right now, I would consider making a move. So the number one seller question is what? Just curious, for the right price, would you consider selling your home? A follow-up question might be right after that would be, what would be a fair price for your home, right? Once I know the fair price, I'm going to say, well, if I can get you, let's say $10,000 more, and I'm going to lead to the buyer question. I'm going to start leading them towards the buyer world. Where would you go? And then I'm going to have some fun with this because the future is a lot of fun, right? Oh, where would you go? Oh, what would be there? Hey, just curious. I like to play this game. So I like to envision the home. Like, where do you see this property? Like, is the garage in the front or is it in the side? Where's the kitchen? Is it in the front? Is the kitchen when you first walk in? Or what do you see when you walk in the perfect home? Right? My goal is when you close your eyes and I close my eyes, we're looking at the same house. And we're just having a conversation, just a little coffee talk. But too many of us are trying to act like realtors. Too many of us are trying to act like these guys that you see on TV who are trying to like mimic what they think a realtor is. And a mimic is nothing more, a realtor is nothing more than the perfect friend that's interested and committed to being a servant leader, interested and committed in helping somebody go across a prosperity bridge. Let me explain to you guys what a prosperity bridge is. It's often used in psychology. Somebody's here when they first start, right? You're having a problem, you're here, you identify the problem, you're self-aware, right? But this is where you want to be. But there's a big bridge that gets you across, and sometimes that bridge is scary, right? And that bridge can be so scary that it looks like this. Rather than being straight across, it looks like this. And us as a real estate advisor, we've got to be able to identify that and pull the bridge down to a level that they can just walk across because they can't get across that bridge, right? The idea of buying a home is so stressful. And there's, and everybody's going through one of the top 3 reasons why people can't buy or people don't buy, I should say. And you guys all know what that is, right? What's the number 1 reason why people don't buy? I think you mouthed it, Michelle. I'm not sure if you did or not. What do you think the number 1 reason is? 3 reasons. Give me one.
Well, right now, I would say price and interest rates.
So the fear of, whether I'm going to get interest forward and stuff like that.
Affordability.
So it's a big one. Fear is a really big one. A lot of things fall under fear, right? The second one is cash. Do I have enough money? The third one is credit. And the easy way to remember is cash, credit, fear. Cash, credit, fear, right? Whenever you're sitting down with a buyer, they're going through one of those or all 3. Mm-hmm. And for those of you guys who don't know, I have 6 kids, so a lot of my analogies happen to do with kids, right? And it's not all my fault. My wife we have 2 sets of twins, and that's why we have 6, right? We're kind of a blended family too. So I came some with some, she came with some, then we made some more. So what do you do when your kid's screaming at night? They're having a little nightmare. They're screaming for you. They're calling you. You go in there. First thing you do, you turn the lights on. When a consumer is having fear, our job is to put some light on that, right? And kind of walk, hey, what do you mean by the rates? What's wrong with the rates? A lot of times people will tell you an objection and they'll tell you part of the objection and they don't articulate it as if, and they want you to finish the objection for them. Well, the rates. No, I don't know about the rates. What do you mean? Well, the rates are so high. Well, who told you that? Are you looking at the news? Like my customers don't deal with those numbers. Like we all know there's buy downs. We all know there's builders that are willing to pay the rate down. We all know we can get a seller to pay concessions. Like, oh, you don't know. Like, okay, let me explain to you. Let me tell you the dirty secret about real estate. Right? And there's a lot of dirty secrets. And by the way, whenever I tell somebody the dirty secret of real estate, everybody's like, oh, I want to hear. To me, the tea, right? So like the dirty secret is that most consumers are working with AFAs, average frustrated agents. And they're not working with top tier EXP prime 100% grass fed amazing people realtors, right? Who have every skill set, all the tools and all the resources at their disposal. So they don't know how to separate you from the AFA, the average frustrated agent, right? They don't know. So they just bundle you together. So you've got to articulate to the consumer how you're different. And by the way, if I ask somebody, and I do this sometimes live, I'm not going to do it here. But I ask people, it's like, hey, just out of curiosity, why should a customer use you? And people will say stuff like, oh, well, I'm smart, I'm a good person, I'm loyal, I'm all, and they just totally lose the opportunity to differentiate themselves from an average frustrated agent. What do you do differently? And I would ask you to write down this question. Write this down right now. I pride myself in blank. So we're going to do a little bit of a value of creating ourselves a little bit of a differentiator. See, when I first started in the business, all my friends were broke. I was broke. My friends were broke. So my biggest problem on the cash credit fear was I needed to help them get cash. And not only did they need cash, most of them were broke and they had bad credit. So I had to help them fix their credit, right? So I made myself available, and I said, and my brand was Gil Can Help at the time, and I thought it was super cool because websites were brand new. And I actually, Eli, you would have laughed. When you called my phone, hi, this is Gil from gilcanhelp.com. Like, I thought it was so cool to have a website back then that was my introduction. I was like, I owned a website. It was so cool. But I made myself a resource. I had, Free Money Orlando. It's like, you want free money? I got free money for you. And I used to tell people all the time, like, hey, listen, the only reason you can't buy is because you haven't met Gil Ramos. That's it. Because anybody can buy. I can help anybody buy. I don't care if you don't have cash. I don't care if you don't have credit, and I don't care if you don't know what you're doing. I'll fix all three of those. So that was kind of my value proposition. Anyone can buy through me. Now my value proposition has changed many times. It's, my thing I'm always telling people is like, I just want to get you the best property for the best price, with the best protection. And how I do that, the best properties based on access. The dirty secret of real estate is you don't get to see all the properties on the market. You get to see what's left over, of the leftover, of the leftover, of the leftover, of the leftover, of the leftover. And that shit doesn't taste so good. And your family deserves better. So I'm going to give you access to my Buyer Advantage program, where you're going to have access to, and you could write some of these down because you have access to this too. I'm going to give you access to off-market properties. I'm going to give you access to pocket listings. I'm going to give you access to corporate deed homes. I'm going to give you access to builder blowout specials. I'm going to give you access to for sale by owners, frustrated for sale by owners. I'm going to give you access to, expired properties that you probably would not have access to the homeowner directly. I'm going to give you access to all the A-rated properties that will never hit the MLS. You see, if a great property comes on the market, first thing I'm going to call them is my mamacita. I'm like, hey, babe, this great property, this little lady wants to sell her house. She's in Connecticut. She wants to sell this house in Florida. She's like, listen, just give me 200 grand for it. It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, and I'll be happy. And I'm looking at it, I was like, oh, this property's worth about 300,000. Just needs a little bit of work. And I was like, hey, do you want to buy this property? And my wife is probably going to yell at me because I have a buy house problem. I like to buy houses. So she's going to be like, no, we bought too many houses this year. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to call my brothers. And I've got 4 brothers. I'm the oldest 5 brothers. I'm going to call my team. My team is called Team Great. I'm going to tell my office agents in the office, and none of those guys want it. Then I'm going to put in the MLS. And then about a day later, it's probably going to be on Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, Homes.com, stuff like that. And that's when you're going to see it. So you're literally going to get the food that nobody else wanted. Or you can work with me and be part of my Buyer Advantage program. All of you guys have a Buyer Advantage program. This is what it looks like. Write Buyer Advantage program on a Word document, put your face on it, and put 3 or 4 things that you're going to give them access to for the best property. Well, how do you get somebody the best price, Gil? Well, it's pretty simple, right? The reality is that the market tells the market sets the price based on a buyer and a seller. And what we negotiate is the best deal. But here's some protections inside there too. Like if I'm working in the FHA buyer, if I'm working, I can always put a appraisal guarantee on there and have a third party assess whether this is a fair value for that property. And we're not going to pay more than that because the lender is not going to let me do that, right? So we're never going to pay a penny more than it's worth based on the appraisal, provided we're in a market that we don't have to overpay for a property, right? So I'm going to make sure there. But more importantly than that, who cares how much we pay for the property? What we care about is how much comes out of your pocket. See, an average frustrated agent only worries about the sales price. There's 47 different places to negotiate on a contract. They're called blanks. And I don't know how many blanks are on your contract, but every blank is a negotiation in my book. So are you negotiating all those opportunities? Maybe, maybe you're not. Maybe you're just kind of filling in the blanks, but you should let your buyers know that because the reason why you fill those blanks out is because you feel they're the best for that buyer. And you might just be doing that a repetition, but they don't know the difference because you don't articulate your value proposition. Hey, by the way, I'm going to ask the seller to pay for a title. I'm not sure it's going to work out, but if I can save you $2,000 here, I'm going to. I'm also going to ask them to pay for the home warranty. Now, I'm going to ask for so many things they're probably not going to give me the home warranty, or they may not give you all of them, but let's try for everything, right? Now, the market gets hot. Maybe we have to move things like that, but in my market right now, we're getting concessions all day long. It's part of the deal now. You know, if I'm sending you an offer, I'm probably going to get $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $7,000, $15,000 in concession for my buyer. Are you guys able to do that in your markets? Is seller concessions possible? I would say for most of you guys, seller concessions are not possible if you're not asking. Seller concessions are always possible if you're asking. And here's something I always teach my agents to do is, if you really want to get seller concessions in your MLS, do you guys have a clearance rack? You have like a button that says clearance rack, and mine does. It's called 100 days on market. See, when you go in the store, the shit in the front is the most expensive stuff. I don't shop there. I shop in the back of the store in the clearance rack, 50% off. You know what's funny about the clearance rack when most people forget? The shit that's in the clearance rack used to be in the front, right? So when you look at the properties on the market, they used to be in the front. Now they're in the back. They're the same property they used to be, but there's blood in the water, right? So it's easy for me to get concessions. So when you have a buyer, specifically a buyer who is, they have a tight pre-approval, we do not show them properties in the front of the store. When you set up your searches, you do not set up searches for new active properties on the market. You show them stuff where we can negotiate. You show them stuff that's 100 days on the market. You show them stuff that have the biggest propensity for the next reduction. You do a reduction search. Hey, here are the properties that got reduced this week. Don't just send them active homes. There's too much competition there. We have to be savvy. We need to understand how to beat the market in their own game. The market's always changing. The market that we're in. How many of you guys think we're in a seller market right now? Raise your hand. How many of you guys think you're in a buyer's market? How many of you guys are not going to raise your hand no matter what? Well, it's pretty simple. If your average days on market is 0 to 90, you're in a seller's market. It's between 90 to 120, you're in a neutral market. From 120 and up, you're a buyer's market. That is it. There's nothing else to think about it. But no matter what your market you're in right now, it still depends, right? Even if average days on market is 2 days and properties are selling for 30 days, 30,000 over list price, the truth of the matter is it depends. I don't know the condition of your property. I don't know if you got 17 cats in your house pooping all day long, right? I only know if I get to know you, I get to ask you questions, I get to see your house and things of that nature. So let me go back to this. So we got a buyer question, a seller question. Seller question is just curious, for the right price, would you consider selling your home? Are you willing to ask that 10 times a day and create $100,000 for you? Because the average seller commission is 20 grand. So if you get 5 sellers to say, hey, I'm willing to sell when or if, right? Whether it's this year, next year. And here's the deal. You have a very high chance that they want to sell in the next 12 to 15 months. And here's why. For the last 4 to 5 years, people have been trapped in their homes. We had 2 years of COVID. We've had 2 years of uncertainty, interest rates going down, and now we're at a leveling spot. So if you ask somebody the question, they have a high chance of saying yes, that they're willing to sell in now or in the future, and you can just start that conversation. I kind of look at it like Instagram ads. I'm sure you've noticed they're listening to us all the time. You got to be careful what you say, right? Like if I say, I want to buy a leather jacket. I want to buy a leather jacket. I can't wait to buy a leather jacket. If I can only find a place to buy a leather jacket. Now, but all of you guys have your phones next to you, I'm sure. So it's also hearing my voice. So you're buying a leather jacket, right? Because now you're going to get advertisements for leather jackets. In fact, I want a brown suede leather jacket, right? All of you guys, if you guys see an advertisement, just go on Instagram, go to Gil Ramos Life and be like, fucker, now I've got leather jackets being marketed to me. But you know what the funny thing is? You might see one you like, and you might buy it. That's the power of a question. That's the power of suggestion, I should say, right? It's our job to suggest what the future will look for somebody. So as a buyer is thinking or a seller is contemplating, we tempt them. Hey, just curious, you said you were looking to live over in Houston. Is there any parts of Houston you like better? Any neighborhoods that you love? Hey, you know what? I was thinking about you yesterday. I saw this property. I'd love to show it to you. What are you doing on Saturday? Let's have some coffee. As professional inviters, we make more money that way. Hey, what are you doing this Saturday? What are you doing Tuesday? If I were to go to market, hey man, what are you doing on Tuesday? I'm actually going to be in your city on Tuesday. What are you doing on Tuesday? You'd be like, I don't know. Okay, great. Let's go look at a house. Right? And you can talk to your friends and family like that all day long, and they're going to make a move with or without you. And you don't want to have that conversation after they move without you, right? So again, sellers have been sitting in their houses for 4 years, 5 years, and they've been stuck. They've been stuck. And they're waiting for somebody. You know what they were doing that 59 days ago? The same thing you were doing. They were kissing their babies and they were saying, you know what? I hope this year is going to be better. I'd love to have that big backyard this year. We've been procrastinating for a long time. You know what they'll say to themselves? You know, God, Jesus, whoever it is, just send me a what? Just send me a sign. And then Michelle calls. Just if it's your will, just put it in just send it to me. And then Misty gives him a call. Like, people are begging him for blessings in their life, and you guys won't pick up the call and make the call. They're begging for you. You think you're a salesperson. You're a friend, a desirable person that they desire something from. They're hoping that you can carry the load with them and bring them across the bridge. You see, what happens is when you give them clarity and you take away all that fear and you give them cash or credit or whatever they need, that prosperity bridge that looked like this comes down, and then you get to walk side by side and pick up your commission. But you got to ask the questions. They're $1 million questions for a reason, because they've made millions of dollars from, not just for me, from many, many people. I love that seller question. I hope that you'll ask that question today. I hope that you'll have the courage to say, you know what? I'm going to test this shit out. Gil Ramos, we're going to find out if he's telling the truth or not. I'm going to talk to 10 people that own a home today. And while we're talking, by the way, start just writing them down. Write down a little money list. Everybody that you know that's a homeowner. Think right now, who do I know that's over 55 years old that owns a home? Who do I know right now that has 3 or 4 kids that owns a home? Who do I know that has been living in a house for too long? Just write them down right now. Rahiza, is that how you say it? Santiago? Like, get a pen, write it down. Like, put it in your phone. Like, you know people right now that are popping in your head. They're popping in your head for a reason. And you can just text them if you want to. If you're scared to make the call, just text them. Say, hey, just text them the script. Hey, you still live over in Houston? Give me a small city in Houston area, Eli.
League City.
You still live over in League City? Lee City? Do you love it? I only asked like a ton of buyers who are looking to buy in Lee City. I'm just curious, for the right price, would you consider selling your home? Could you text that to 10 people? Do you think they're going to ignore you? They're not. They're going to give you a response that's going to be worth at least $20,000 if you send 10 of those out and 5 of them say in time, and let's say 5 of them ignore you. Well, that's $100,000. If all 10 of them respond to you, you got $200,000 sitting in your bank account waiting for you to cash that relationship. Just curious, for the right price, would you consider selling your home? Misty, I know you can do it. I know you can. But what are you going to do after this call? Eat fucking Chick-fil-A? If you're hungry, don't eat. Eat after you make yourself $200,000 of potential profit. After this call, I don't know what time it is in your market. Do not eat. Do not put food in your mouth unless you've texted or called 10 people and you've asked them to buy a question or sell a question. Can you do that for me, Marcos? Don't lie to me, man. Don't lie. 10 questions. I want to make you rich, right? Questions lead to connection, and connection leads to commission. There are people in your database who've been praying for you to call them. And for those of you guys who are going through fear right now, and making $1,000 and trying to get to making $800,000 or $900,000 a year, there's things that are going to have to happen for you to do that. For those of you guys who are on the high side of the fence right now and you're coming up on that 7-figure income, for most of you guys, it's just not asking questions. It's about automating some of these questions, right? For those of you guys who are making a less than 250, we don't need to automate. We need to hustle, right? We need to just hustle. And I can see Michelle right now making text messages. I hope that she's asking those questions to people right now. Give me a thumbs up. Are you asking people to sell a question? No? Yes, maybe.
I'm taking all the notes to have questions ready.
Okay, good. All right. So, if you're a person that's on that high level right now, you're probably 1 or 2 systems away from getting to a 7-figure income. And I always say it's like, $0 to $250,000 into your bank account. It's just your work ethic, right? It's just about you going through and having the perfect schedule. For those of you guys who don't know the perfect schedule, here it is. The first part of our day, there's 4 parts of our day. There's a small part where you have to pay you, right? Where you're going to do that by, whatever it is that's going to motivate you. You're going to read the Bible, you're going to work out, you're going to do some yoga, you're going to spend some spiritual time for yourself, but you need some time for you. If your cup's not filled, you can't give anybody anything. Right? So if that's you just dancing to Whitney Houston, if that's you just like, just playing in the, swimming in the backyard or whatever it is going to do you to fill your cup, we got to do that first. Then we move to the most powerful part of the day, the part that will make you the most money. It's called prospecting time, right? And prospecting is the part that we do not make appointments. We don't schedule inspectors. We don't schedule calls with title companies or vendors. We do not schedule anything between 8 and 12. Between 8 and 12 is our dollar productive activities. It's our time to dial for dollars, for us to be able, we don't respond to title companies. We don't read email. We don't go on social media. Too many agents I'm coaching right now, and they're paying me for coaching and stuff like that. And I ask them, hey, what's your morning activity? Well, I go through and I kind of go through my social media and I kind of respond to all myself. So what? First thing in the morning, we're gonna work on ourselves. The first part of the day, the second part of the day, we're gonna work on getting more people. The middle part of the day, between 12 and 4, we're gonna be looking at eyeballs. Our goal is to look at the color of everyone's eyes and take notes and add their information to our database. We're gonna be showing homes. We're gonna be doing our listing presentations between 12 and 4, right? Between 4 and 6, we're going to be responsive to all of our needs. We're going to talk to our transaction coordinator. We're going to talk to our assistant if we have one. We're going to upload the sky slope. We're going to write our listing agreements. We're going to put our addendums in place. We're going to go out there and write our listing descriptions, upload photos. We're going to coordinate. So that is the perfect schedule of a 7-figure hustler. A 7-figure hustler understands that between 8 and 12, we don't schedule appointments. We're prospecting. Now, for some of you guys who are newer, my philosophy is we're a full-time work, right? So, it's a 10-hour day, period. We didn't come, if you're part-time, then you're still doing 10 hours. You're doing some hours at some other place. You're doing some hours at this place, right? But that's the ideology of the entrepreneurial code, right? We got to put some time in it to be able to get the result that we want. It's unavoidable, but we still have to have that maintenance in our schedule. Right. So if you're off this day, you'll follow the schedule. If you're working at a job, then you're going to work the schedule. They're going to pay you a dollar amount for, and then when you're off, you're going to work the schedule. Right. We're going to prospect. We're going to have appointments, and we're going to close our day out. Right. So I think there was one more thing I wanted to share with you guys, and then I think Eli said he wanted to kind of go over questions, and I'll bring it back to my father's decision. It's so easy to say we can make a decision. I want to do this. I'm going to make this happen. Don't worry, Gil. I'm gonna make this happen. I'm gonna make you proud. I'm gonna do this, right? And then get distracted. So simple. So what can we do? What can we do to ensure that we're willing to take this decision seriously? This decision for prosperity, this decision for legacy. Are we going to write it on the wall? We're going to post it, or we're going to create some kind of footprint on our desktop where we can see it every single day? I don't know what it is for you, but I can tell you what it is for me. So a couple of things that I do that are kind of ritualistic and to kind of keep reminding me is I have this song that I listen to. That's my prospecting song, right? And I still do it. I don't do it so much for prospecting anymore, but I do it almost every time I have to go to the office and or if I'm going to on stage in a different market, I listen to this one song, right? And it's actually written by somebody wrote it for Grant Cardone, which if you guys know, Elena Cardone is part of eXp Realty. And the song is called "Who's Got My Money?" Right? And that question I asked myself, who's got my money, right? Who's got my money? Now listen to the song, put your earphones on, and I love it. It's a great song. My team uses it as like our preliminary. We're going to get in the zone before we make calls and we start dialing for dollars. Who's got my money? And hopefully before the end of this call, we'll play it here on the call. But it's the ideology is there's people in your database who's got your money, and they're waiting for you to call them, and they're waiting for you to take some action. and they've got all the blue blessings for you. And I had to look up blue blessings. I didn't know what that meant, but that's the little blue band on those $100 bills, right? Blue blessings. But somebody's out there got your money. It's your job every single day to put enough nets in the water, put enough hooks in the water in our prospecting time. So during 12 to 4, we can make an appointment with them and then catch what we're looking for. We're fishing for commissions. And it's a lot more fun when you do it with a mindset, I'm just looking to help people, right? I'm going to take them from here to here, the prosperity bridge. All right, so I want to leave this up for questions. We can just chat for a little while and kind of, like, tell me what's in your head. If there's some objections you want to hear me go answer, I love me some objections. So however you want to bring this, Eli.
No, man, I got a bunch of stuff. I think one of the biggest objection I'm having right now that I'm dealing with right now is just sellers wanting to overprice their listings. A lot of people are stuck on a 2022 market. Maybe that in 2022, 21, they were thinking about selling. They know what the prices were back then. And then now that they're ready, or now that they can, they're stuck on that 2022 pricing. And it's I'll give you an example. I lost a listing. She wanted 1.2 or something. I recommended 950. She listed with another agent about 3 months ago from 1.6 to 1.4 to 1.2 to 1 to 995 to 949 today. So now she's back at where I had suggested, but I don't like doing that, right? So how do you overcome that objection or that conversation?
First off, I think that, the pricing objection is something that you should not have this conversation after the fact, right? You should have this conversation before you list the property. And the easiest way to do it is find a property in the market, right? Find a property that's had tons of reductions and explain them the eBay story, right? So if you have a phone, somebody put up your phone. Just show me your phone. Okay, there's a phone. Is that an iPhone? Is that Android? Okay. You're okay. All right. So
an iPhone, sorry.
Okay, I use Android, so Android love. There you go. If you put your phone up on eBay for $1, do you think that it's only going to sell for $1? No.
No.
What's going to happen is everybody's going to be sitting there waiting to the last second, trying to outbid the next guy, and then it's going to get to a spot where, like, I'm just going to keep bidding because I want to win on this property, right? And I want you to understand is that we cannot underprice a property, but we can overprice a property. So you should have printed, and maybe Eli, you find the perfect property that all of us can use as our printed documentation of how somebody priced their home the way they used to do it back in the 80s. So back in the 80s, and I always tell people, hey, back when my grandfather was in real estate, back in the 80s, they used to have this expression, maybe you know it. So he goes, let's price it high so we can what? So we have room to what?
Negotiate.
Right? And what we find is that, you're going to negotiate, and you're going to take way less, right? So, and we can have a property that we printed out, that we have in our listing package of a property that has done that before. So we can have that property tell the story rather than us have to try to, like, win this battle of wits, which is often uncomfortable, right? So you have to explain to them something that they understand. Just if I price your phone for $1, you're probably going to get $500, $600, $700, $800 rather than going right for your phone and then some. See, what we try to do in 2024 marketing, what we're trying to do is create massive funnels. We want not this many people looking at your property. We want this many people looking at your property. And when we get that many people looking at your property, what we create is a FOMO effect. What we create is an opportunity to negotiate higher, right? So in the state of Florida, I'm sure in the state of Texas, nobody can force you to sell your home, right? So you're not going to have to accept a lowball offering like that. In fact, we're never going to talk about lowball offers. What we are going to do is try to create a massive funnel where people who are looking at your property and then start getting them to compete against each other. It's not uncommon for somebody on my team to take 10, 15, 17, 30 offers on a property, because we intentionally use the underpriced strategy, because we can show them printout after printout after printout of where that's actually worked to our favor, right? So, and this especially works with properties that are in the median value. When you start going into luxury homes, when you start going to higher, Eli, it's not the same thing. So you're a $1.2 million seller, you're really going to have show them proof of where other sellers have done that. And it's easy to do. Just look up sellers and put up 200 days on market. And you say, here's the list of people that use the overprice strategy. So use your MLS as proof. It's your number one tool we've got. So look up $1 million in your market, look up 200 days plus, and there's your example of people that have overpriced their property in essence to be able to have room to negotiate. It doesn't work in 2024. In 2024, we want the biggest funnel possible of active, aggressive buyers looking at your property. Okay. So anything I would say under $500,000 in your market, you want to price at market price or below, 10% below the market to attract a ton of buyers. In fact, if I had a $500,000 house, right? And it was like in your market, it was like a $500,000, well, that's a $500,000 property. And I price it at $450,000. What do you think would happen? There would be a ton of showings. There would be a ton of people looking at it, right?
Bidding was.
And then we're going to use that term, multiple offer situation. During COVID, Eli, what I would do is I would actually have I would invite all of the buyer's agents onto a Zoom together. Say, hey, just wanted to get you guys all together. All of you guys have put an offer on my property, and that's your competition. So add some zeros, add some commas, less inspections, less and stuff like that. 5 o'clock today, I'm looking to get a response from you guys all, and I would literally see people get frustrated. But some people would take that as challenge accepted. And I would literally get stupid offers. Like it was just dumb. Like people just wanted to win. And I tell these stories to my sellers now. I've got literally down the street a house for $3.5 million where I showed them what we've done before for other people. Now, again, on the upper echelon properties, we have to do other things to put people in that funnel, right? So Eli, I'm going to tell you on the one thing that I can tell you EXP has done incredible with is their syndication program for EXP Luxury. And they'll let you test the system, and I can give you her email address. I think it's Anna something, but I'll text you and say, hey, I'm going into luxury listing. I'm thinking about getting luxury certified. Can you give me some examples of what it would look like if I decided to do it with this property? And they showed me that, and they show you that they can syndicate to the Robb Report, to Success Magazine, to the Dow Jones. When people are looking up their stocks, your property pops up as a digital ad there and shows you all the different places that it's going to syndicate, and it really wows the consumer. So like that, it sometimes it's not always price. It's sometimes like they don't believe that you're going to be able to do as much as the next person. So in absence of value, people put objections in. So that may or may not have been the situation, but I'm going to tell you, like, have some proof, bring proof in every listing why they price it high and with room for negotiation doesn't work. Because that's exact. And if you didn't bring proof, just open up the MLS and look up 200 days on market. Every one of them priced it too high. And you can probably find that there's probably, I don't know, somebody open up your MLS. Tell me how many properties have been on your market more than 100 days. Somebody do that for me. While we think of the next question, what's the next question? What's on the clearance rack in Houston?
Here's an objection I'm getting a lot now. Discount brokers. It's getting crazier and crazier, at least in Puerto Rico, with these discount brokers. That's been like, why pay you X percent when somebody else is paying me this percent? How do you overcome that one?
There's a couple of different ways I do that. And I was like, that's not the right question. I was like, to be honest with you, if I can get you $500,000 more for your home, would you be willing to pay me 15% commission? Right. So see, and I'll be honest with you. Can I tell you a dirty secret? Agents want you to be worried about the commission. They think because they set you up. They set you up to think that that's important. Because what they're going to do is they're going to hope that you take the low commission. So this way, I don't have to do a lot of work. I just play the volume game. And if you want to play in the volume game and be advertised like a Dollar General, then you should go with a low dollar commission. But the truth of the matter is, what you really want, I think, is to make the most money for your property. And not just on the sales price, but every piece of the different 47 different spots that you can negotiate. Has any of those 1%ers told you there's 47 different spots to negotiate? They're not. Because the only thing they're negotiating, it's not your sales price, is their 1% commission. And they're going to throw you on the wall and see what happens. And if you're sucker, if you're, and I talk to my clients like I talk to my friends. If you are going to fall for their sucker game, like just put it on the market, just sell it yourself for 1%. But you don't save money by buying cheap. I can tell you, in my life, I probably bought about 8 vacuums from Big Lots before I bought my first Dyson. And I'm sure you know the story, lo barato siempre sale caro, right? If you don't know what that means, it means if you buy something cheap, it comes out to be cheap. And it's going to be more, and it'll end up being more expensive. You're going to pay the price for paying too little. So what I think what you really want is, how do I make the most money? Is that really what you want to know? The way you make the most money is hiring a top professional like myself with a proven, repeatable system. I'm totally cool if you want to go the other way. I'm not going to get in your way. But if you want to net the most money, you want to have the most peace in the process, you want to have the most protection, I'm your guy. And I leave it at that. I mean, I can tell you that, why would you fight to make less anyway? Like, I see a lot of agents, they'll just like, that's their first line of defense. Now, if I've gone through line of defense after line of defense after line of defense, line of defense, and I feel like, okay, this is it. And I do have some customers, I'll take 10% of my customers are people that, like, they just want a deal. You know, it doesn't really matter. Like, they're willing to take less service, to be honest with you. They just need to know in their heart that they beat you, right? They beat you down. They just want to know. They need to brag to their friends that they got a little discount. Totally cool, man. I love a discount myself. I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'm gonna charge you 6%. But here's the deal. If I don't sell your house under pending in 15 days, I drop to 5%. If I don't sell it in 30 days, I'll drop to 4%. Okay? And I make it a challenge. And usually the people who are challenging me the most are D personalities too. And I'll even throw it. And tell you what, if I don't sell it in 15 days, I'll even wash your car. Right? I'll come to your house and wash your car. And you can take pictures of me and the realtor who didn't put your house, but like, let's just make a deal. And I'll wiggle out of that. It's like, I'll tell you what, I'm not going to wash your car, sorry, but I'll pay for somebody to wash your car. Fair enough. We'll put a sign, paid by Gil Ramos. Like, I'm going to make a play. I'm going to make a play because I'm not going to negotiate against myself. I'm not going to put myself in a spot where we're competing against. I've got you 500. If I get you $1 million more than your house was worth, would you mind paying me 20% commission? If the first $200,000 were, you made $1 million more than property and you were getting $800,000 more, would you matter if I made 200 grand off your property? No, you wouldn't give a shit. You would be like, who the fuck did you get to buy my house for $1 million more? Right? But you wouldn't care. You'd laugh at the bank. And that's what happens when you hire somebody like me. When you get to closing, you're going to laugh your way to the bank because you got the biggest check possible. And that's all you want. Am I wrong? If I'm wrong, tell me. If you're more worried about, if you're not as worried about how much you're going to get, I'm not your guy. Because I'm worried about that. Because I know that there's at least 47 different ways that listing agent who's only going to take a 1% commission is going to make sure that you lose money. It's almost their job. It's their job for you to lose money. Because they are a wholesale business. There's not enough, there's a volume business. It's okay. It's okay.
Love it. I'm gonna take that. I like that wholesale volume agent. That does make a lot of sense. I like it.
Yeah,
Gil,
it has to make sense for them, and you have to bring it into a different story for them to understand. Because they don't understand our story, so you have to bring it to the story they understand.
awesome.
I have two
Okay.
questions.
Two
All right, let's do it.
Gil, if you can bring us the 3 actionable items, that'd be awesome to finish us.
I've already given you 2.
Oh, just summarize them and add a 3rd one.
Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
Real quick, what do you think about entry only listings, and what do you think about the co-broking agents that do not like the co-broke?
Okay, bring me to the first. Well, actually, let me start the second one. So about co-broking, that's not your problem. Who cares if they don't want to co-broke? We got to get into a world where we're going out there and getting our buyer agreements. We should not settle for, if they're offering 2.5%, why would you settle for that? Like, your buyer is willing to pay you 4%. They're willing to pay you 5%. And let me show you why. This whole DOJ thing makes me laugh. I'm going to make more money when if this ever goes through, I'll make way more money getting my buyer to sign my buyer agreement. Because here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask for seller concessions. and I'm going to offer that seller concessions to pay my buyer side commission. And I'm saying, hey, listen, I have a 4% commission. My goal is to have it so you don't pay me anything. I'm going to get a concession from the seller. We're going to use this to negotiate the best deal for you possible, right? And by the way, if I don't get the seller to pay the full 4%, we'll lower it down to 3%, right? Fair enough? Like, listen, you should not be going out there without a buyer agreement. I think a buyer agreement is more important than a pre-approval, to be honest with you. I take loyalty more important than how. Like, you guys are walking around people asking, well, how are you going to pay for this, right? Show me your pre-approval. What's your FICO score? Like, I want connection. I want professionalism. I want loyalty. So don't settle for what they're offering you. Create your own commission. So the first question I didn't understand. Can you go back to your first question, Michelle?
Entry only, do you do that out there? Like over here, we have entry only listings. A lot of agents practice that. They just do a flat fee for an entry only listing, and they don't really service the listing.
Right.
And obviously then, buyer agents can facilitate for the buyers.
So on these like FISBO type of,
It's kind of like a FISBO, but not really. So the listing agent will have a listing contract at a flat fee. They make no more, no less. It just goes on MLS. It's basically for exposure. I mean, I guess they could do it themselves by throwing it on all the other third-party search engines, but
right.
They still throw it on MLS.
So what's the challenge for you?
I guess I just wanted your thoughts on that. Like, how do you think it's a good idea to do that? Because a lot of people with numbers, that's where they're struggling, right? Or that's where the opposition may come from the seller's perspective.
So are you saying you've gone on a listing appointment and lost a listing appointment to a limited service company?
Well, I've talked to a lot of people and they just say that they're not ready to list, or they're not willing to list because, one, they don't have nowhere to go, and they don't want to pay all the fees. So the commission is where they're trying to, oppose me, and I'm not willing to not get paid for my services, obviously.
Yeah, let's play this out, right? So if I can do X, will you do Y? Right? So I'm hearing what you're saying is you don't want to pay a lot of fees. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm assuming this is a listing appointment conversation, right?
Correct.
Okay. So if I could make it so you virtually paid me nothing by earning my money, by getting more for your home than your home is worth, would you hire me? If
Yes.
Essentially I made my own money because I got more for your house than it's worth, would you think that's worth hiring me?
Yes.
Okay, let's just say an average property. Can you tell me what average property in your area is?
In my area, for a single family, about 350, 400.
Okay, so this is like a $10,000 or $12,000 decision for somebody. So, and by the way, this used to be my FISBO script. So you know how people say like, oh, I have a buyer for your property. This was my FISBO script. It worked incredibly. Let's say the property's $300,000, right? And I was like, hey, listen, not gonna pull your chain. I'm an investor. I'm looking to buy as many properties this year as I possibly can. Just curious, just straight up, I'll write you an offer today. Your house is $300,000. If I were to write you an offer for $290,000, could we make a deal happen? And they would say what?
No, they want the 300.
You're crazy.
Did I misunderstand?
No, they'll take the 300. They'll take the 290. I'll give you cash $290,000.
Oh, okay, cash. Okay.
Yep. Would you take it?
Yes.
That's why you need to hire me, because you gave away 3.2% commission in one conversation, and I probably could have got the washer and dryer, and I probably could have got you to pay, seller concessions. And I probably could have got you to pay the home warranty if I stayed on the call long enough. The truth of the matter is most for sale by owners negotiate terribly. If you're looking for a master negotiator who's got a proven, repeatable system for results, I'm your guy. When you get tired of trying to sell your home, put me in. That was my pitch, fast, furious. And I would go through my for sale by owner calls. And what happens is they'd wake up. Like, they give away 3%, like nothing. They're fighting to keep 3% for what? So they can do more work? I would tell them that. It's like, why do you want to not pay 3%? So you can take all these calls? Like who cares about that 3%? What you really care about is getting your house sold fast enough so you can find another house. Now, you also said something else in that call. Like, I don't know where I'm going to. Well, great. Let's sit down. Let's figure that out. right? Cash, credit, fear. They're telling you, I have fear. Let's turn the lights on, right? Well, in a perfect world, where would you like to live? What's that look like to you? When do you want to do that? How long have you wanted to do that? Why are you suffering? Like, I'm going to ask you 300 questions. And by the way, on most of my consultations, somebody cries. If you're in a consultation, we're not going deep enough. If you're so surface level that nobody has any emotion, you're not doing a consultation. Because a consultation requires desire and dreaming and pleasure and all of those things, and they're owning that feeling, and they can feel that excitement when they're working with me, because I'm going to pass my passion on to them, right? And I'm going to deliver it in a way that they're going to be excited about the future. Dude, that's going to shed a tear. That's going to create excitement. People they should shake a little bit. Hey man, this property you're sitting in right now, it's gone. You already have top dollar in your pocket. Let's go spend some money. Where are you going? Tell me about that. Hey, if there's one thing in this house right now that you would love to fix, right? Is it, if it's a pantry, it's the master bedroom, kitchen, what's the one room in your house that annoys the shit out of you? I'll tell you what, if there's one promise I'll make with you, and I'll make you several, I will make sure in the next house we fix that problem. You will not have to suffer with a small backyard. I'll make sure we get you a nice backyard, your kitchen playing you can be proud of. What else? What else can I do? What is the one thing in this house that you actually would love to have in your new house? Well, you know what? There's actually one thing I love. I love my long driveway. Okay, great. We'll look at first. We'll see what we need to get all those things, right? But if your clients are scared, it's because you haven't walked them through that. Turn the lights on. Expose. Let's get rid of that fear. And I always kind of feel like an objection is usually your objection. To be honest with you, like you don't think you can find another house. Because if you had the confidence, like, let me just tell you, there's tons of houses. You're only looking at what's online. I have access with my buyer advantage program, which by the way, my buyer advantage program is stacked with my buyer agreement, where it's going to say what you're going to pay me for my services, right? My buyer advantage program. Oh, I can see why you might be frustrated. You're just looking at properties that are online that nobody else wanted. You're not looking at it from the eyes of a real estate advisor. You're not even looking at the clearance rack, which represents some of the best deals in the market. Do you know why houses stay on the clearance rack? Bad agent, bad seller. Sometimes both, right? Sometimes sometimes the property is a great property. It just wasn't marketed right. Sometimes, sometimes like I just yelled at one of my agents yesterday because we looked at the property and say, hey, my house has been sitting on the market for 25 days. We're not getting many showings. We looked it up, and under MLS showings, it said 24 hours, call listing agent, click for appointment. It had like 17 different ways, like hoops you had to jump through. Text me to get a showing instruction. Your showing instruction should say only one thing: easy to show. Right? 10-minute showing button. Like you should make it. Listen, properties that are vacant sell for more. If you guys don't know that, it's the reason when you guys are setting up last second showings, don't you look for properties that are vacant that you don't have to worry about setting an appointment? Yes, you do. You do. Yeah, I do it too. Like, right? So if those properties are getting more showings, they're going to get more offers, and they're going to close for more money, right? So if you're putting the listing and your house isn't selling, and it's because you've put too many obstacles in the way of a buyer being able to look at that property.
Awesome.
All right, we're out of time, Eli.
We are out of time. I hate to interrupt you. I know we could go on forever. Great stuff, but I know people have other appointments. Really quick. The three takeaways, the three that we should take.
Let me ask them. Can I shift this up here? What do you guys think the three takeaways were? Because I've already given you several, and Misty's got a notebook full. So we'll start with Misty. So if there's one thing based on what I told you today that you can do and take as an action, what would it be?
Well, honestly, so in my Remarkable, where my notes are, I've got a section under trainings that's labeled Gil Badassery. So just so you know that.
Thank you.
I will tune into all of your trainings. Thank you. I think it was really, to be honest with you, is some of the objection handling. I feel like I'm I am definitely an out of the box thinker and a problem solver, and that's something that I definitely pride myself on. But I'm always looking at different ways that I can help people overcome their problems. How can I help you solve those? So it would have been the objection handling for me today. But I did miss the first 15 minutes, which I'm about to
Okay,
go
well, in the
back and
first 15
rewatch.
minutes, I gave you my seller question. And the first thing I want you guys to do is make sure you ask the seller question to 10 different people, right? So the seller
Oh yeah,
question
no,
was,
we're doing that when we get off the phone, myself and the other agent on my team.
good stuff. Just
Yeah.
curious, for the right price, would you consider selling your home? That's number one. Number two was,
Yep.
we're going to do it for sellers. Why not do it for buyers, right? We're going to ask the buyer question of 10 people that currently are renting, right? Which, by the way, all of us know how much rent a buyer pays, right? I mean, how much interest rate a buyer pays, right? Because they're worried about 8%. Hey, listen, you're worried about 8%, you're paying 100%, right? You're paying 22% of your credit cards. Like 8% is a deal. So, and I'm sure it's probably 7% in your market or 6%, I don't know. But here's the deal. The buyer question was, just curious, if you could live anywhere in the Houston area, where would you buy? Just curious, both questions. So you're gonna ask that to 10 people as well. And the third thing I really want you to do is more conceptual. Just make a decision that you're not your results, that you're going to be a different person starting today because of Gil Ramos' badassery, right? Thank you, Misty. I'm using that. That you're going to make a decision. Write the word decision down and circle it. Decision, 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 right? Well, the word decision means that we're going to cut something open. We're deciding something. We're breaking something up. We're going to cut the old us and put the new us together. We're going to do this together. I hope that Eli invites me to Houston in April, because I have a chunk of time in April to come out and do some office things like that. So I'd love to come to Texas in April. So maybe he'll make that happen. Work with Lisi to kind of coordinate something like that. But I'd love to see you guys all in your market live, and let's get a big group together. Let's just do some more badassery. Sounds good?
Go.
All right, guys. Let's see some calls and texts.
Thank you, Gil. Appreciate you. Thank you, guys.